Today, I'm going to be going through an Infiltrator build. Hey everyone, Derpy here. Welcome back to another Battle Pirates video. As I get started, I of course need to mention that this is a PvP video. I'm just sharing my own thoughts here. I haven't tested this thing, I haven't built 5 of these things, and this is not Alliance Secrets. If you don't like me sharing this stuff, then simply don't watch, don't associate this with my Alliance. I also need to say that it has been a while, far too long, actually 24 days since my last Battle Pirates video, and that quite frankly is because I have been busy, and also a combination of not liking a few things of the direction the game is going here, and sort of seeing the same thing over and over, but I'm getting back into the swing of things, and I owe it to all you to keep making videos like these, and keep updating things like my builds document, especially for the channel members. If you're interested, click the join button in the bottom of the YouTube video. Enough of that, and let's actually get into the build for the ship. First of all, this is essentially a Conqueror lionfish, although it doesn't have any benefits to being underwater. So this thing really only shoots when it is stopped and above water, which are synonymous. So it's a submarine. When it's moving, it can't shoot. It can still be detected if people have sonar, thermal, etc. in their base, which is perfectly fine. It does have pretty high deflections across the board, some stun resist on it, and it also does have a range modifier of minus 20%. So you're not really going to be outranging any of these newer turrets whatsoever. And if you're wondering, the 10% building damage is from my Conquest Shard. That's different than a few other things out there. Now, this is a submarine, but I'm not going to play with any thermal detection, etc. I don't believe any cloak efficiency is worth it on this ship whatsoever here. Just keep that in mind. You can also only own 2 ships of this type when I am releasing this video here. That's going to, I assume, increase in the future. Just notice there are a few cab effects here, so this thing surfaces when stopped. It also does increase the reload of all other infiltrators, which is not a very important stat. Damage is much more important than reload, but we'll get into that. Now, for the build, it is pretty straightforward, at least I think. Again, I actually have only built one of these things, and it's only half ranked, so I've only tested it in one base, which I died in, so take that for what it's worth. For the missiles, you're going to want to use the incursion missile. That's the only option here. It's the go-to for that one. Straight off the bat, for the engine, I'm going to go for something a little bit different than most people are going for if they're just looking at the build for the first time. I'm going for Assault engine over, say, the Tactical Onslaught engine or the Onslaught engine, because while it is slower, you do need the penetrative damage plus 10% here is really, really important here. It does warn you about survival, don't worry about that. Special slot number 2 is going to have to be one that increases both building and penetrative damage, which is what almost all of these specials are going to do, and that is the Invasion Scanner 2. If you don't have this, using Siege Targeting 4 would be a second best option, although that will be significantly weaker against ships. Invasion Scanner 2 is better against ships, and it is still better against buildings than Siege Targeting 4. It is limited. You can probably find a few ships to scrap this on or get it in bounty. I'm not really sure where things are in the game these days. Next up is going to be an Assault Battery MKCOM. This does increase penetrative and building damage. Using something like Siege Battery would have building damage number that looks higher here. Conquest Battery would give you combat speed, but I'm of the opinion that the total damage is really, really important here because deflections are insanely high on all the new defensive short-range turrets we got here, many of which are in the FM. Now, again, trying to go on put on more things that increase penetrative damage or effective penetrative damage. This holographic targeting here came out with the Sky Sabers. It's a little bit of an exception. It doesn't actually strictly increase damage, but you do need a range special on here, and this is going to be the best one for you here because it gives you that reload, and Flak Evade is still a little bit important because some people are using those on their flag, on their portals, etc. If you take a look at the weapon, it does have a 95% flak evasion, so it can somewhat be shot down, so this is going to help a little bit, although really not that much, nothing too much to worry about. The next penetrative damage boosting special is actually going to be the main one. I haven't put one of those on yet, and that's going to be the precision missile system right here, plus 75% penetrative damage. That is straight up the way to go. You really need something like that on your ships. Now, if we start that up again here, the last slot has to be something that is just a little bit weaker because you can't use any of the other things that stack here, like interception system, etc. There is one school of thought that wants to have higher damage at any cost and use the penetrative force, which increases damage by 15%, but you lose range. I'm not quite sold on that here. You could also try and use the penetrative scope to try and lower damage, increase range, but that doesn't really help you too much. You can't easily outrange badgers or anything like that, so I'm not going to recommend that, which leaves the last option here as the penetrative upgrade. That's going to be the way to go for this one, just 10% damage straight up. Now, damage is so much more important than deflection because, damage is so much more important because of deflection. It's way more important than reload. You need to focus on the damage per projectile. That's the really important thing. Just get the total building damage number as high as possible and the total damage number as high as possible. Now, in terms of the armor, you'll notice that this ship does have pretty consistent and pretty strong deflections across the board, which means you're going to want to put on armor to increase the deflection of whatever type is strongest against this thing. In this case, in the current game in April, I believe that is probably the Rumbler explosive turrets, and then the other one is the launcher turret. So I'm going to just recommend those right here. But if things change and you go do battles, look at the battle report, and you're getting a ton of halo damage or missile damage from the halos, probably throw on the M armor or a few things like that. I haven't actually gone ahead, and looks like I'm out of that one armor plate I want. I haven't actually gone ahead and made any calculations for damage per projectile for these tier 11 turrets. If it turns out that your launcher deflection is already high enough, you probably don't need this armor plate here, but my gut feeling is telling me that you're going to want to have something on here. And as always, if things do shift around or change and another turret does have a higher damage type, go ahead and use that one. We get a new ballistic, explosive, whatever other turret next month, probably want to put on armor plate of that type. With that said, I'm going to actually go ahead and put this build in my builds document right here as soon as I finish this video and update a few of those other things. So make sure you stay tuned for that and take a look at a few of those things. Again, this is just linked in the description. It's 100% free. Anyone can access it and look at all the builds I've got for Battle Pirates. I do my best to update it regularly. With that said, going to go ahead and say thank you to all the channel members whose names appear on screen now. I'm also going to be updating this list pretty shortly. If you want to join and have your name at the end of all these Battle Pirates videos, you can go ahead and click the join button below right next to the like button actually on YouTube. With that said, and until next time, this is going to be Derpy signing out, helping you be a better pirate.